Welcome, everybody, to creating sacred space within you and around you. I'm looking forward to spending this time together. So, you're in the right place if you long for more spiritual connection and support. You want to connect to your spiritual brilliance even deeper. You are open to a quantum reality of energy and consciousness where everything can become possible, even probable. You still believe there is a spiritual wholeness within you. And you want to learn how to self-identify as your wholeness and not your negative ego and emotions. And you want to cleanse that negative energy that's within and around you. And you want to cleanse the energy of your office or home so you prevent burnout, foster more clients, and support better care. Little bit about me. This is me and my puppy Caribou, my dog, who helps me create sacred space. I have 2 cats and 2 dogs and a horse, and I must say that their great energy really helps me create sacred space. So I'm author of The Explorer's Mind, A Map to Freedom, and I've got 2 other books that are at the publisher and being finalized. One is called The Secret Code to Self-Mastery, and the other is Spiritual Laws, 5 Spiritual Laws so the universe can help you have your own back. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm somatic body-centered trauma specialist and a brain science enthusiast. I'm a meditation teacher and a mindfulness practitioner, and I was certified as a massage therapist for over 10 years. I've studied energy healing such as Reiki, Healing Touch, and I taught at the Barbara Brennan School of Healing and attended it for 6 years. I'm a Qigong instructor and a spiritual teacher. I teach about those 5 spiritual laws so you can let the universe have your back. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end of the webinar. I'm also the founder of the Mind Energy Body School of Transformation and its signature coaching certification program. And please reach out to me if you're interested in learning more about that program. The new class starts up in the spring. I only start it once a year. So if you're curious about that, give me a call or email, and I'd love to set some time to talk to you about that. All right, so what are we going to do today? We're going to look at how do you create sacred space and how to clear that negative energy from your home. And we're going to talk about the purpose of home, place, altar or workplace altar. And actually, we're going to talk more about where should you place an altar and what are the components of the altar and how to create sacred space within. So wherever you go, so does the sacred space. We'll talk about the 5 Spiritual Law Academy and let you have a very special offer, a ridiculously discounted offer at the end of the webinar, so you can even take this work further. So some housekeeping. Please have a pen and paper ready for notes. Stay to the end for the special offers and bonus packages. And you will get a replay after the call. The call will last about 60 minutes. So first I want to talk to you about the importance of creating a sacred spiritual practice, because if you have a daily spiritual practice or a regular spiritual practice, that's one of the best ways of creating sacred space within and around you. A spiritual practice provides clarity in the midst of your overflowing and demanding days. It cultivates the attention required to complete so many tasks. It helps you focus and self-regulate your mood and provide you with ability to connect to joy and feel uplifted. It also creates a sense of steadiness and grounding and change. No matter what unforeseen stuff is thrown at you, a sense of calm center can help you create your day from a much higher vibration and more effortlessly. It keeps you afloat and even-keeled even in the most rigorous times, and it helps you really look at life in a clear perspective. It helps you understand your life also on the middle level. You know, what is going on inside you so that you can address what's happening and not avoid it. Because I find whatever you avoid tends to show up even bigger and more challenging if you avoid it for too long. Spiritual practice also draws you into a more simplistic moment and can touch you so intimately. It helps cultivate a deepening in your true spirit and wholeness. So now that you know, you should create a practice of spiritual awareness. Let's talk about the how-tos of that. And to begin with, I want to talk about how do you clean a room or a home or a workplace setting of negative energy. I guess the most obvious way to clean a room is to actually clean a room, but I strongly recommend you use natural products so you don't, bring in environmental toxins, because that can really mess up the energy of a room if there are environmental toxins around. I also want to talk about the energetics of cleaning a room, and I'll tell you how I do it, and you can figure out the way that works best for you. So the picture on this slide is that of sacred geometry. And when I first start cleaning a room, I begin by putting certain symbols, sacred geometry symbols, in the corners. I use Reiki symbols, Chakure, but you can use whatever symbols of sacred geometry that you feel called and aligned to use. And the reason why I put them in the corners is I find that congested energy, just like in your body, congested energy gets stuck in the joints. In a room, the congested energy often gets caught on the ceilings and the corners. And I find that if I use these symbols of sacred geometry on the corners, it can really help clean the energy in the room and maintain clear energy in the room over a longer period of time. The way I look at when my room needs to be cleaned is I can sense and see energy. So when I start seeing a hazy energy in the room, I start cleaning the energy in that room. If you have a lot of open windows, like in the summer or spring or early fall, simply having clear energy move through the windows can help maintain it much longer than in the winter. I find I have to clear the energy in my home and workspace much more often during the winter months. So again, just in review, you can use Reiki symbols or sacred geometry symbols to put in the corner of the room. And then after I've done that, what I do is I use salt and alcohol. Some people like to burn sage, but for me, and I've got allergies, and I just find the sage is really heavy energy, and I'm really supporting my clients by keeping the energy really light and wholesome and filled with what I call high vibrational consciousness. So I don't use sage. I put in an old pan little salt, like a handful of salt, and then a couple tablespoons, like 4 tablespoons of alcohol, like grain alcohol. Because that's expensive, I often tend to use rubbing alcohol. And sometimes I'll put an essential oil in the rubbing alcohol. But I want to talk just briefly about the pros and cons of putting an essential oil in. Each essential oil has its own properties. And if the essential oil isn't very pure, I find it triggers my own allergies. So I do find certain Young Living essential oils like Joy useful. I would say 9 out of 10 times I do not use essential oil and put it in the alcohol and salt mixture because I just don't want more toxins in the air. So after I put the alcohol and salt in the pan, I use a match and I light the alcohol and salt. And I make sure that under the pan there's like a plate or something so that it doesn't get too hot and burn like the rug or the hardwood floors. I used to walk around with it and just take the pan to where the energy was congested. But I don't do that anymore because it's a little bit more dangerous. So I encourage you to put it on the floor, and then I use my hands and my body, and I just kind of invoke and using intention, really invite the energy to come into the alcohol and salt fire and burn it and purify it. So I use symbols, I use salt and alcohol to kind of cleanse the energy in the room. And then what I do is I have a practice of connecting to my own spiritual wholeness and invoking my higher self and all my spiritual guides. And then I just expand my auric energy field to fill the room and kind of bless it that way. And I invoke, the highest good to take presence there and the highest forms of spiritual support to take presence there. So I do a little bit of a ceremony. And I find I can really feel the difference. And sometimes after I've done that and a client walks in, they'll say, wow, this room feels amazing. So I encourage you to kind of sense the energy before you do your energy cleaning of it. And then once again, sense it afterward and see if you can start developing the psychic and intuitive skills to know how effective what you have done has actually worked. It's important to kind of not just say, oh, it's clean because I followed these procedures. I want to keep encouraging you to learn how to sense energy within you and around you so that you can create more protection for yourself, and if you're in a private practice, for the clients that come into that room, and if you're in a big family, for your family members and friends that may come into your home. So again, just in real quick review, clean the space, vacuum, dust, do the basics. And then see if you're drawn to doing sacred geometry forms in the corner. Then you can use sage or salt alcohol combo to kind of create a fire to burn it. And then fill it up with essence. Ask for sacred, high vibrational spiritual support to come in. Expand your own spiritual wholeness in the room and really bless the space. Okay, moving on. I want to talk a little bit about feng shui. Feng shui is a way of shifting energy in a space that's was developed in China. And if you're not a feng shui expert, I'm certainly not a feng shui expert, but I am an expert at sensing and feeling energy. And so just by simply following these guidelines or getting a Feng Shui for Dummies book, you can do a lot to shift the energy in your home or office. So place an energetic fountain at your front door, they say, because that running water can symbolize cash and the bringing in of cash. You should also have a very clear entryway in your home so that the energy can really flow right into your home and life. You don't want a lot of things blocking the entryway. Make sure your home encourages learning. Put a lot of books around, and if you're into spirituality, spiritual books around. And get rid of unwanted frustration by fixing broken objects, decluttering, really make sure things are working well. There's not squeaky doorknobs or hinges, and the lock should be working well. Spice up your love life with plants in the bedroom. It's a great way to bring more lively energy into the bedroom. They say place 3 or 9 new plants, and in Qigong they always use numbers of 3, like 3, 9, that sort of thing. Adding hope and cheer. Position your bed to feel safe, loved, and great. Place your bed in the commanding position so that it's far from the door, but you can still see the door. One of the rules in Feng Shui is you don't want to have your back to the door. Block the drains to make sure the money doesn't drain out of your faucets. It's running water like a fountain in the front of your door is useful to bring in money, but if you have dripping faucets, that is a way to really kind of, they say, let money run down the drain. Wind chimes are another helpful energetic placement to, invite more helpful people into your life. And to look at having a better career, you want your desk facing the door. You want it in a prominent position so you can look at and see who's coming in. This adjustment helps you encounter more opportunities, go further in your field, and lose less often. So sacred space components I want you to think about is to really declutter objects. I know I'm sitting here in an office with papers all around me. It reminds me to keep up on that sort of thing, to declutter objects. You can also use sound, scent, art, plants, water, mirrors, and altars. And I'm going to go into a lot of detail about how to set up an altar and where to set up an altar. A lot of people use this 5-element chart that I've included here. The 5 elements are fire, earth, metal, water, and wood, and they each have a color and shape. So if you want the 5 elements to be included in your office or home, you can use the actual element, but you can also use colors and shapes. So I'm going to go over a couple more Feng Shui basics. So the color purple is aligned to bring in power, wealth, and abundance. The color for fame and future reputation is red, increasing recognition and establishment. The color for love, marriage, and relationships is pink. So if you really wanted to bring in a lot of love into your life, also enhance your space with the color pink. I know my calendar for my appointment calendar happens to be pink. And that's because I tend to really love my clients, and it's really, healing's about relationships. So I picked pink for my appointment calendar. So if you want to support family, health, and community, the color's green. Well-being and balance, the color's yellow. And gray and white are the color for creativity, children, and legacy. So surrounding your space with the colors according to the attribute you want to bring in can be really useful. Knowledge, wisdom, and harmony is that blue, black. It's the template of the actual auric level of the field, the 5th auric level of the field. And blue-black is the self-career work center. I know when I'm at work, I wear a lot of black, and I really support a lot of energy to bring into my career. And the color black is very useful, and so is the element water. And then white, gray, metallic is about compassion, travel, and helpful people. So that chart can kind of provide a bit of a support system when you're looking at what colors and attributes you want to bring into your home or office. So let's talk a little bit about creating an altar. So altars are there, I feel, to remind us of the sacred support that we have out there, that powerful sacred support that is really available to us, but sometimes we simply forget to open to receive it. I believe that we're all could be enlightened if we just open to receive it throughout our day more and more. So an altar can help remind us of that enlightened part of ourselves that we want to reconnect to. And as we do that, it helps provide I call it emotional regulation back to our true self. It helps us regulate our false self, our negative emotions back to our wholeness. And I also like to think of my altar as a spiritual battery. Like I even put my hands over it and receive from it when I feel like I've got a lot to do and not enough energy to do it. I go to my altar instead of to like a cup of coffee or tea or something. Especially if you have crystals in your altar, who are great cultivators, and also spiritual figurines that hold a lot of energy. So this is my actual altar that I keep by my fireplace. And the way I developed it is I include crystals and rocks and things like that to bring in a lot of charged, healthy energy. But I also use a bunch of different figures. I even have a Mother Mary figure that when my mother-in-law died, she had that, and the picture of Jesus came from her. So it was kind of like I felt like I needed to pass it down through the generations. My husband is no longer a practicing Catholic, and I'm not. I'm spiritual. I'm not religious, but I do like keeping religious figures for what they seem to represent for me. So I've got a lot of Buddhas, and we'll talk more about which Buddhas you might want and what hand positions and mudras do the Buddhas hold that you might want to put on your altar. I also have a dolphin there. I got that dolphin from my mom, and dolphins represent this joyous, intuitive ability. And when I teach energy healing, I call it the dolphin sonar that I use to track energy. And then I've got two little baby teddy bears, one new one representing the new and the abundance of the new, and an old one that was on my grandmother's Christmas tree. So those two little teddy bears there came from my grandmother in that bench. And when my parents sold their Florida home, I kept it as a symbol of my ancestral lineage. I also have some keepsakes that I brought back from when I lived in Nepal. And I also have Native American blood. And I keep my pouch and Native American. You can't see it right there behind there. It's resting against a moccasin, a baby moccasin that I got when I was very young, Native American. And I've got some treasures from Angkor Wat when we lived in Cambodia. So my altar is a representation of many decades of living and many decades of generation. And I find for me that that creates a lot of power and a lot of spiritual support. I also have on that right-hand side, if you're facing it, a photo album that my mom created of my family growing up. And that was important to include. My parents are getting older, and I find I'm getting very sentimental. Even though my childhood was a bit crazy making, they're still my parents, and I still have deep, deep love and affection for them, and want to include them somehow in my altar through that photo album. So the first step in creating an altar is to clear the energy space, and we talked a little bit about different ways to clear the space. Again, I tend to use salt and alcohol, and then I use Reiki symbols. I sometimes use essential oils, and I do have a wonderful chime and bell that I got when I lived in Nepal that I often use to create clearing through the sound. I think sound is a powerful thing to use. Even the sound of a fountain of water running. At one time, I've got various altars in my home and office, and in one of my altars I have running water just to kind of clear the energy that way. Whichever way you clear it, getting into a routine where you clear it on a regular basis is important. I know that part of the reason why I wanted to do this free training for you is to invoke some more attention myself on making sure my sacred space is clear, and that I take more time and energy to clear and rearrange my altars. So after you clear the space, it's important to select a theme and intention. So here's some tips to help you find a good intention for your sacred space. Think about, what are you thankful for? What gives you peace? What healing or blessing is needed? And what inspires you? What is magical in your life? And what makes you feel special? What in your life excites you, gets that juices flowing, makes you feel alive? Those are some supports around the theme of what your intention is for your altar. So meditation may be an intention, relaxation, safety, creativity, strength, peace, healing, remembrance, love, protection, abundance, faith, joy, enlightenment. The intentions I hold for my altar is a multi-purpose one, that of spiritual awakening, wisdom, because with that spiritual awakening and connection to my true self, and to receive protection and spiritual support, I then become empowered to create, my best life, my best health, my best relationship, career. And so my altar has the intention of wisdom, connection to my true self, and spiritual support. So being clear about the theme of your altar. And again, you can have different altars with different themes placed in different parts of your home or workplace, as I've done. So once you have the intention and the space is clean, it's to actually select the sacred items. Typically, people use candles, incense, burners, water running fountains, statues of Buddha, which I'll go over the different types of Buddha statues, representations of the 5 elements, animals, flowers, meaningful objects, crystals, sacred cloth. I have a sacred cloth that I put on my altar, that my items are put on, and it's a cloth that I got in Bangladesh when I lived in Bangladesh, where I adopted my daughter, and it was handmade and just means so much to me, and it kind of got a stain, and so I reorganized it and kept part of it and made it into the cloth where I put my items upon. And some people use sacred geometry forms. So these are the different mudras, these positions of Buddhas. So if you want a theme or an energy of no fear, this is the hand positions of the Buddha holding no fear. Calm is this hand position. Adoration, greeting. Namaskar is this position. And this is the position for calling the earth to witness truth. And I just love this one. And I have this one in my altar. Sincerity, compassion, and wish granting is the open hand. Banishing negativity, that's always a good one. I haven't seen a Buddha with this hand position, but I think if I find it, I'm definitely going to add this to my altar. Teaching transmission. I was thinking when I saw this that I should really, really remember that when I teach to do this mudra and to really look upon when I'm doing a meditation where I want to receive a teaching from my higher self and spirit guides, to invoke this energy of this hand position. This is the hand position of the Buddha holding confidence in self, and we can all use more confidence in our true self. And this is the Supreme Enlightenment hand position, if you want to include that in your altar. The Wheel of Dharma is creating cosmic order, is this hand position. So once you've done and picked out your items, then the issue is, how do you arrange those items? And they say in order to support the energy flow, you want to move and rearrange them on a regular basis so they don't get static. And I know for me, life gets so busy I can forget doing that. So I want to really emphasize taking care of your altar the way you take care of the plant. I'm very rigorous in how I take care of my live plants, and I have to remember in doing this webinar, let's all remember to really treat our altar as delicately and with as much love and affection as we treat the live plants. And again, you can add a live plant to your altar. Mine is on the fireplace, so I don't include a plant on my major altar, but in other places of the house, I do have plants all around to help support the energy of the altar. So Feng Shui also says, please move those items around. So you can have an altar in your garden, home, office, or bedroom. So really think about where you want your location or locations to be. And a lot of the research for this webinar that I did, they really recommend having all three: home, office, and garden. And I added it in bedroom because you spend at least probably 8 hours a day in your bedroom. And for me, I like having that energy and shower of sacred space while I sleep. So now I want to talk a little bit about a different kind of sacred space. So we talked about cleaning and clearing the energy in your home or office. We talked about creating an altar to foster sacred space. Now I want to talk about emotional sacred space, which for me is really, really important. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I'm also a spiritual teacher and energy healer. So emotional sacred space for me is not just a thought in the mind. It's not just an emotional feeling. It is a thought, an emotion, and sensation in the body of the energetic, of either emotional dis-ease or emotional alignment. So what creates sacred space when you have challenging emotions? Well, one is to eat healthy and to eat with a sacred feeling about you. So eating through sacred space and eating through healthy emotional sacred space is definitely one of my to-dos this year as I look at creating more health for myself this year. So think about emotional sacred space and include how you eat as part of that emotional sacred space. Also, how you sleep. Do you have the right mattress? Are you getting enough sleep? Do you have the right pillows? Do you have your bedroom set up in a way that feels comfortable? They say if you have sleeping issues, you should not have a television in your room at all. And you shouldn't take naps during the day. So part of creating emotional sacred space is eating with sacred space and sleeping with sacred space. And then there's that self-talk, right? So if you have a lot of negative judgments that you bombard yourself with, you're actually creating negative energy, not only in your physical body and mind and soul, but you are actually creating negative energy in the room you're in. because negative thoughts are energetic constructs. So if you have a lot of negative thoughts, maybe it's just the energy in the room that you're taking on. Another reason to clean the energy in your bedroom and your rooms on a regular basis. Having a negative identity, an identity that is based on your false self and not your spiritual wholeness, is probably the biggest issue I address with clients. They feel that the emotions that they're experiencing in the moment, or the mistakes they've made in the past or currently are making, define their value. And that's the quickest way to destroy sacred space. I want you to embrace the concept that your self-identity is your true self, your spiritual wholeness, which I call the core being. It is not your false self. It is not your mistakes. It is not the lessons you still have to learn. It is not the manifestations you've yet to create for yourself. So if you are single and want to be married or in a partnership, or if you are making less money than you'd like to make, or if your health isn't perfect, or if your weight isn't perfect, that is not your identity. That is the energetic portal, energetic vortex, I even say, that it is the opportunity of what you can transform to reclaim more of your spiritual wholeness. But if you define yourself by your mistakes, or by your physical body's appearance, or what you haven't achieved so far, then you are really creating negative space for creating a better life for yourself. So I'm going to encourage you to really self-identify as your true self, your core being, and not the mistakes or the challenges that you're currently facing or wanting to transform. And then by doing that, you actually create sacred space, because then you can send some loving kindness to the parts of you that haven't yet achieved that goal, or that are feeling hopeless or alone or sad or anxiety. That way, if you feel anxiety, if you feel sadness, and you believe that's who you are, that is creating negative energy within and around you. So if you want sacred space to be with you no matter where you are, and I know I do, I know I want to foster to the extent I can sacred space, then you can't identify yourself as your negative emotions and as the mistakes and the things you haven't manifested yet. Okay, I just really want to emphasize that. And the special bonus that I'm offering at the end of this webinar helps you address a lot of these issues around creating emotional space within you and around you. So no matter where you go, sacred space is there with you. And part of that is learning emotional regulation skills. And so I want to encourage you to really develop the skills. You know, go to my blog. I've got so many free tips on my blog. I've got low cost or no cost opportunities, private session opportunities. Wherever you go, please embody the ability to emotionally regulate yourself back to your bigger self. Because if you don't have emotional regulation skills, then you don't have the skill to transcend what I call your biological challenges, that brain that has emotional reactivity. In our brain, because we're in this human form, we're spiritual, but we're locked into this human body that has a nervous system and a limbic emotional system in the brain that can be reactive. And so I encourage you, if you really want sacred space within and around you, to allow yourself to develop those emotional regulation skills. And once again, if you are dysregulated emotionally, that doesn't only affect your physical body and your physical state of being and your emotional state of being, but it fills the room with negative energy as well. And that brings us to the connection to your true self. Ultimately, sacred space is your ability to self-regulate back to your true self. That brain and body system is going to trigger you out of your true self into your ego-based programming, negative patterns. Just happens. But to really learn how to connect to your true self is a life-changing skill for creating emotional space within you and around you. So this is a picture that I show at a lot of my webinars. I took it when I was in Zimbabwe, Africa, and for me it represents peace. It represents the magic of life that I caught the elephant in the middle of the river, in the middle of a sunset with such beauty and magic. And it just represents sacred space. So if you ever feel lost, I want you to imagine this picture and feel the amazing energy in it. And it will help you remember who you truly are. Because do you ever feel like you are walking on a tightrope in life with no safety net below to catch you? So I want to give you a couple awesome bonuses. Webinar bonuses as a discount on my 5 Spiritual Laws Academy. The Academy actually begins March 15th, and you can take advantage of this special bonus offer only until March 1st, and then I'm going to up the price. It's the first time I'm really offering these 5 spiritual laws. Before, it was part of a bigger program I call the Secret Code that included the 5 spiritual laws, but also 5 steps and 5 skills. But this one, I pull out the equation of the 5 spiritual laws so that it's a quick and supportive process for you and a way to study home towards success. It's regularly $147, but right now until March 1st, it's only $97, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. So how do you take advantage of this discount? Well, first let me tell you what you get in the Academy. You can learn the 5 spiritual laws in this completely virtual, self-spaced home study program. This personalized program, it gives you the keys you need to let the universe truly support you. Because part of having sacred space within and around you is learning to tune in to how the universe wants to support us to return to sacred space. Because no longer do you need to feel buried under the constraints and overwhelm of difficulty and stress. No longer do you need to feel like a victim to your situation. I would say one of the most common challenges my clients and students face is this feeling like things are happening to them, that they're victimized by their situation. Wouldn't it be nice to never, ever, ever again feel like a victim to your situation? Well, that's why I designed this program, to help you with that. Come learn how to create more ease, joy, and well-being in your life, because you truly do have the power to create what you want. So each module has video meditations. It's research-based. There's science behind this work. There's personal awakening exercises, daily practices that you can help build and deepen into your wholeness or true self. You have a Facebook community to ask questions and share success stories. And you also have individualized one-on-one tutorial support from me directly. No second-tier teachers are teaching this. You get the transmission directly from me. So Module 1, we cover the anatomy of subtle energies. You learn Qigong practices. You learn about chakras front and back, how to assess them and self-regulate them. What is the consciousness in your way? You have tons of support on how you connect to your spiritual wholeness, that sacred space within, and how to cultivate positive intention. In Module 2, you discover who you really are. It's quite profound and quite uplifting to really start differentiating and individualizing so your sense of self is anchored in your truth and not your negative thoughts and negative patterns. Module 3, you look at the emotional pain and the challenge that you start understanding that things happen for you, not to you, and because you are not your pain, your thoughts, or emotions. In Module 4, you learn to heal your saboteur and rewire your brain and body systems. And it teaches spiritual law number 3, that your negative past will repeat again and again until you change your program responses. And it provides support on how to do that. So spiritual law number 4, again, says difficult life experiences happen for you, not to you. But how do you exactly get those gifts from the misfortune? And that's what the spiritual law will teach you, and that's what the Module 5 is devoted to supporting you with. Module 6 teach you how to create your own inner authority, and it teaches you how and helps you understand that those negative emotions, emotional pain transforms to power. It's one of the most important life skills. Learn how to be your own authority and not let others define you. Learn to transform pain to power so you connect to your true self. And what's so cool about this program, even at this low discount rate, is that you have a 100% money back guarantee. It's really a no-brainer. It's highly discounted. You can use it for years ahead, so you can go through it again and again, because we kind of learn these spiritual laws and understand who we are, and then during difficulty, life gets stressful, and then you can watch it again and again and again. So I encourage you, while it's at this discount price, to really claim this discount, because it will support you in creating that sacred space within you and around you. And I'm going to give you some more bonus gifts that come along with that discount price. You'll receive a 30-minute phone call with me so that you can take this work even deeper. And that's a $70 value. You also get a free Pain to Power Manifesto e-book, which is a $35 value. You get a free energy personality assessment, which is a $35 value. And you get 2 private tutorial personalized sessions for the price of 1. You add up all the bonus packages, and it's $210 value that you get for only $97. This is the link. You can copy and paste it, and it's here for you only for a limited amount of time until March 1st, and then the price is doubled. So while it's still at a discount price, and when I send you the replay of this, I'll send you the link for purchase as well. Here's the order form you'll receive when you order the product, so that you know exactly how to purchase it. And I'm just telling you how much I enjoyed this time we spent together. I appreciate so many of you staying on the line all the way to the end. And know that I'm here to support you. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. Sending you love and blessings along the way. Aho.